What's going on? It's Joel Casanova, and this is the Behind Our Dance Talk Show. So, it's Wednesday as I'm recording this, which means something very specific. I will be showing you someone's dance journey every Wednesday. Today is my friend Joy, who is my friend slash colleague slash professor slash creative arts confidant slash co-conspirator, right? Joy is amazing. She has so much insight to give, and so today we're going to be going through her dance journey and her thought process that has kind of got her to this where she is today. So keep in mind every Wednesday when I give you a conversation that I've recorded to put in context of your own dance journey, because we all have different dance journeys, and the contrast will show you a little something small about your own dance journey. I don't know what that is, but hopefully you'll know by the end of this conversation. So enjoy that conversation and keep your mind's eye open. Okay.
So, we have talked multiple times over video chat, and basically every single time it's happened, it's been fire. So, when I first met you, and then when we talked about like AI and like where my business is going and different stuff, and then we met in person, and then we had classes together. So, like from the very, very beginning, like dance wise, why don't you just give like an introduction for yourself? Like I said, there's people working on my house right now, so I'm gonna mute myself while you're talking, so not distracting. Yeah, so just kind of like an introduction, like where where did the dance bug strike first? Like when did it happen? Was it always in your life? Was it like a new thing that you tried? Like where did dance and joy intersect essentially?
Oh my goodness. Almost synonymous, which is wild. So, my name is Joy Clayton. I'm a professional artist. I've started saying that more often because there's so many different things that creatives do. So first and foremost, I'm a disciple of Jesus. I'm a mom and I'm a professional artist. I do spoken word, I dance, I do worship flagging, I write, sing. I used to act a bunch of different things. And dance has always been the first love. So whenever people are asking me, okay, what did you do? How, what is your thing? Most people right now know me for spoken word or maybe worship flagging, but dance is my first love. And that really started in the womb. My mom would tell me stories about playing music and I'm moving around in her belly and kicking her around, kicking things. And she's like, as soon as you came out, you were dancing. And we'd be in church and I'd be dancing in the front all the time. And apparently, there are stories of me leading processionals in church, the church that we were going to, because they were really big on musical worship and the live instrumentation. And my parents tell a story specifically about the pastor lifting me up and saying, like, don't let this baby outdo you when we're worshiping. Let her go around the church and you all should follow her. So that is a story that my parents told me from being like, somewhere between 1.5 to 2 years old. And then I've always just danced. And then it wasn't until my teen years that I started getting visions when I would hear music and I would start seeing choreography and I would start seeing productions or music videos. And so I was always really interested in that portion of it. And that's kind of where all the things started when it relates to choreography and creative direction. But
So
that's me in a dance.
it was never like this is what you need to do with this. It was very like an organic, like your parents, your church, it was
It's
all
just
just
who I am.
recorded.
Yeah, if you see me, I'm dancing. I'm moving.
Awesome.
If there's music in the store, I'm doing this.
Getting groceries.
Uh huh. My
The
mom be
best
like,
place to
"Stop
dance.
dancing to that."
Yes, dance. The best dancing happens in the shower and in grocery stores. That's the two.
Guaranteed.
So what you have so many different sides of you and so many different facets that kind of comes together. You specifically started talking about church and how it started there. A lot of times, I know when we've done productions and stuff together, when we did Scars and things like that, the Good Friday service that we did, you are very big on making sure everything is where it's supposed to be. Like you were directing us as dancers, we were creating our own things, we're making sure everything makes sense. And it seems like a lot of times in church, there's this big movement of like this is for the Lord, and so like this is it's all about like the Lord looks at the heart, and it's more about the worship and the connection with the Lord and the connection of the audience or the congregation to the Lord, as opposed to the art itself. And so we've kind of made this weird false dichotomy of like, there's worship and there's what we're doing for the Lord, and then there's like really quality high art and like the discipline and like the specifics and the details that we put into it. So a lot of times as artists we separate them immediately. But is there any validity to that statement? And if so, where does it start and where does it end in your perspective? Like as someone who has done it in church, done it outside of church, and seen both sides of it.
Yeah, I think that the dichotomy is a social construct, right? I think the social construct of art and your service to God are they're supposed to be synonymous, right? And so the class that we took together, the Foundations of Biblical Worship, in that class, I teach at Sea Point College. That class is all about what does God require for worship. And the word worship means to give the office or state of worth or value. And so, what do we give value to? And so, if we give God the value that we believe that He deserves, how do we express that? And really, your life can express it in a variety of different ways. And so, the art form of dance specifically, though, is a little unique in the sense that singing and rhythm are also all kind of intertwined. And it's my personal belief that like it's as easy as breathing because it's one of those abilities that we come out with. If you put rhythm on, the body will move. And that's just the truth of it, right? If you see a baby and you put music on or you begin to beat on the table, the body begins to respond. And so there's something innate in us where when it comes to dance, specifically first, I would say because body motion and physical movement is your first way as a human to begin to communicate. And so and child development is my background, so I jump into that a little bit. Okay, so human development, a child does not have words first. They have cries, they have motion, they have movement. And so when a child begins to grow in their gross motor skills, and that's humans overall, gross motor meaning your large body movements, your large muscles, versus your fine motor, which is picking up a pencil or using your fingers and those smaller faculties. Gross motor movement basically allows you to get what you need, get your needs met. And so when a child is laying out and they're tantruming or they're dancing, they are communicating. So what we see is human development as communication. And somehow God has pre-wired that into the human. And so for me, it can't be separate from what you do going to church is something you learned, right? Because we were taught to get up, get dressed, go to this place. We were taught that, but we weren't taught to move. We came with that, right? So I would just love to ask God himself, right? Like, why did you wire us like that, right? So part of that, same thing with sound. We begin to make sounds and we begin to make these oohs and ahs, and we make those sounds before we learn language because we know language also is a social construct based on where you live. But sound is not. So you can make any sound you want, but it's not until you're introduced to language through your culture that that is the way you begin to communicate to get your needs met. And honestly, it's really the only reason why we speak is to get needs met, right? On the basic foundational level. So to kind of answer the question, like for me, it's not a dichotomy. We've been all these things, and I love how you teach about this, Joelle. Like all these things have been taught to us, right? It's like we're trying to fit into what has been taught to us about dance and movement, but honestly, God has pre-wired it. And so when we hear the rhythm and we hear beat and we hear these different things and we begin to move, it's a form of communication to our most natural self. And, if you know Jesus as your personal savior and you really do believe that he has saved you from, all the separation that you have without him, and you are now in communication and full relationship with him, dancing is your natural expression. It's like the most truest form of self.
Jeez. So in that, I learned so much in that one. The one thing I'm always interested in child development because I work with children so much. But you said something that you said was the truest version of yourself. So even though you talk about the fact that you've done all these different art forms and that you did dance growing up, you do spoken word, you do writing, and I used to acting and all these different things. So with that in mind, you have this very like business leader, developer, like academic mindset. It's not always academic, but this very business leader mindset. And then you also have this like fluid creator, dancer, spoken word artist mindset. So like how do you like posture yourself so that they don't conflict? Or even more, like was that always part of yourself? Or was there like a specific moment where like you developed into that, like multiple moments? Like tell me how that formulated.
I love this question because, again, purpose is my jam. Like, I love talking about people's purpose and how God has wired you. And so I believe that God has prepackaged you with a raw set of materials. And everybody's raw materials show up as temperament, personality type, spiritual giftings, right? The scripture teaches us that, you know, basically your gifts and your callings are without repentance, meaning you don't have to repent to receive certain gifts that have been already prepackaged. And so, you know, when Jesus endures the cross, and for the joy set before him, he endures the cross. Um, this is just what flows out of me. So this is what Joel knows. Like this is what I am. This is what you're gonna get.
Listen, bro.
But
Go for it.
but for the joy set before him, the joy being the people who would be reconciled to him, the people who would choose him, right? So he chose us, and we choose him, right? In return, this loving relationship. What does that have to do with being prepackaged with anything? Well, he prepackaged you with it with the hope that you would choose him, right? Knowing that you may not choose him, and most likely you're not gonna unless he draws you, right? And so everything in life is pointing us to a divine relationship with God, right? Like this closeness with the truest form of ourself, which is the image of God, because that's the image that we've been made in, right? And so God prepackaged us with these things that we have, right? Some people are more scientific, mathematical. For me, the age old question, are leaders made or born? I believe they're born, and then I think they're trained. I believe they're born because you can see the most innate version of children. Watch them. There's always a leader that emerges. There's always one that takes initiative. There's always one that's a little more domineering. There's one that's naturally the leader of the pack. We kind of see that with like a Lord of the Flies kind of way, right? There's a lot of studies for human development that proves that there will be a leader that emerges, whether they're taught leadership or not. Now, whether they become a good or a bad leader depends on training, right? And cultural understanding. And so I've always been a leader. I've always been a person who, I'm the oldest in my family. I have one older sister, but we weren't raised together. So just being the eldest, it's watch out for that kid that they always call bossy, right? They're like, oh, she's always trying to tell people what to do. She's the boss. She's bossy. I was just naturally like that. When they're all like, you know, group project, who's going to speak first? And no one's raising their hand. I'm like, look, we don't have time for this. Like, you know, I just never tolerated, you know, the passivity. And I know everybody's wired differently. We need that, right? For society to work, we need these different personality types. But my personality type has always been start first. You go first. You be the line leader. You step up first. I've always been like that. And then over time, I was taught that there's a way to do that, right? So that you don't hurt people or step on people to get your needs met and things like that. So I just believe that your temperament and how you're wired and your personality type, and then you start piling on all your experiences, that's what kind of wires you. And so I've always been this person, but yet I've always been this other person. So I've always kind of been the leader, and I've always been the dancer, and I've always been creative, and I always have wanted to express myself in a creative way. And so I just think that all of those gifts, we don't have to choose between them, even though we've been told we need to choose. You don't need to choose whether you're a leader and a creative, or a business person and a creative, or a mathematician and a creative, right? Because we know in all creativity, there's math, there's science, there's the science of light and color. That's how I got through college, right? I personally, the way I got through college was taking the creative version of everything: psychology of film, philosophy of film, philosophy of religion. The science of light and color is how I got my science credit. Like, I was like, please don't make me dissect a frog. And I'm so
Like,
glad
not
I got through my
today.
entire school career, even from elementary school all the way through college, got a whole degree. I did not have to dissect anything because I always chose the creative version of everything. Physics is my jam because it has to do with movement. Let's talk about physics. Let's talk about the science of light and color. You got me. We're good.
Got it. Got it.
You don't
So
have to choose.
was that also who's did that stem out of the people that were around you? The idea that you don't have to choose, or did anyone ever like speak that over you, or like kind of like give you that advice? You're like, listen, bro, you don't have to choose, or was it just assumed because you're like, well, these things are all connected, so why do I have to choose? Like, was that? Do you feel like that was innate, or do you feel like that was told to you?
No, I think it's always been there, but recently it's been told to me, right? It's just one of those self discovery things where societal constructs, man, like how society is just set up. Like they're like, you're not gonna dance full time. Like there's no money in the artist, right? It's the whole trope of the starving artist, right? Like it's that narrative that you're gonna move to LA, lose everything, and be homeless, or move to Nashville, the place where your dreams go to die, right? Like,
You said the
I mean,
quiet
it's
part out
true and it
loud.
happens,
You said the
right?
quiet part out loud.
You know, like you move to New York and it's going to eat you alive, right? Like it's literally the artist narrative, right? Where we have these hubs where art thrives, and if you don't make it there, you're not going to make it at all, right? But that's we see society changing with social media, the internet. We've found ways to empower creatives differently. And so now I'm able to say that they connect, but before I was told that they don't, which is why I got my degree in psychology and not in dance, right? Which is why I was going to be a child psychologist first, right? And I had never, I was like, yeah, I'll just start my own practice that way. And I'll incorporate dance, which is why we have dance movement therapy and things like that. That was my original career track. I don't think I want to go that way anymore. I would rather hire those people to do the things. I would rather lead. And so just over time, I've learned that I lean more toward leading in entrepreneurship and building systems and processes, but that all comes with educating yourself and being very self-aware. Because if you're not self-aware and you don't sit with yourself to really learn yourself, you're gonna always have that fight. Like I want to really do this thing, but my family, but my finances, but whatever, right? We're always gonna find an excuse to not do the thing.
You said you'd rather hire those people and then
Mm-hmm.
to do their thing, and you'd rather lead. Lead what? Like what container are you pouring these people into?
Yeah,
If it's
I,
a thing,
I
I
love
don't
your
know if
container
it.
analogies.
Yeah, all
um,
bro,
yes,
container analogies are my thing. But yeah, what I'm saying,
yes,
like you're like, I would rather hire them to do their thing, and I'd rather
I,
lead. But like, what is it that what would be the
absolutely.
goal if
I
you
I
have that?
realized, yeah, I realized like through my career that I love building the system for people to do their best. Well, right? Like if I can build a system for you to do what you do best, I find more joy in that than doing the thing that you're doing. Does that make sense? So like if you're a dance teacher, that's wonderful. I've been a dance teacher, but I don't want to be a dance teacher for the rest of my life. And we all know that takes a lot of like hitting the plow, right? Weekly, every day. I've done that, right? Same thing with theater. You're going to do this show? I would rather organize the show, give creative direction for the show, not be in the show, right? Some people get life being in the show. I don't get my kicks from that. Like I really get my jam from watching something come together, watching us build something. And I learned that about myself over time, which is why I lean more in dance to choreography over time than I actually leaned into the dancer portion of it. I've always leaned into choreography more than anything. I love choreography. I love picking the music. I love editing the music. I love organizing the lighting. I love putting on the show. I don't have to be in the show for it to be successful for me. So that's how I see it related to business as well. I would rather hire people, build a structure for dance movement therapists, art therapists, creatives to thrive in a healthy manner rather than being the person providing the therapy.
I feel like there's a temptation to once again, we're going back to the ideas of like false dichotomies, but like there's
Yeah.
temptation that's like, well, if I'm the leader and I'm making this thing, I'm never going to be able to do this. And I've heard people in my family, I've heard other artists, I've heard like, I've seen people like kind of like change pathways because they're like, well, this, if I do this, I like this, and this is like significant, or it's like giving to people, that's great, but I still want to do this thing. Like, what you're like, your jam is like, let me put the thing together, let me put on the show, the lighting, the choreography. I don't need to be in the show. And I feel like some people have translated that phrase, I don't need to be in the show, to I won't ever be in the show. Could you
Oh
speak
yeah.
towards that?
I mean, write yourself in the show. If that's what you want to do. Like that's the beauty of being the creative director. You're like, I mean, the perfect example of this is Lin Manuel. Like he that's like his what's his name? Lin Manuel, the guy who does Hamilton. What's his name?
Yeah,
I don't
Lin
know.
Manuel Miranda. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Miranda. So Lin Manuel is like Miranda is like the perfect example of that. like that that's really like it's just almost a period. Like I wrote the show and it's me. Like I mean,
Like
like that's
this
and
show
it
is
and
about
it
me.
worked
I
out
need to
great.
know. Yeah.
Now we don't know what we can listen to his podcast or whatever, like interviews that he's had to express like, okay, how did that work out for him? But plenty of people have done that before, where you write a thing for you. That's the beauty of being in charge of your own creative direction, right? And I think our lives are like that as well, because it's not just that we're these creative people only, right? We are brothers and sisters and mothers and friends and husbands and wives, and like we have people in our life, and we're building these things to support our entire life. So it's not all we are, but we do have to create systems and structure for it to work for us. And I think a lot of times that's where the creative kind of deviates, because they really want the thing, but they don't know how to build that space that they would thrive. And so that's where collaboration and connection really come in. But sometimes people just don't have the space to do what they want to do all the time.
Wow. At this point, we're kind of talking about like influence, essentially, right? So like as a leader, you're always, like you said, there's a bunch of kids in a room, and one is eventually like, "This is the game we're playing. Okay, we're playing tag. This is what's happening." I see that all the time, and I'll never unsee that.
That's
But
so me. That's so me.
yeah, it's like this is what's happening. For me, I've a lot of times when everything is happening, and then like two different like personalities kind of like clash. As the teacher, I found myself being the oldest kid. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not trying to squash the fun, I'm trying to direct the fun. So I'm like, okay, we're gonna play tag, and then afterwards we're gonna play 2 rounds, and then you're gonna do this thing. And so, like, as the leader of the group of the class, like, and I don't know why I put quotations there. I am the teacher, so like I am the leader of the group. But um, there's points where I'm able to kind of say like, this person is a leader. Let me like highlight, not them above the other kids, but like highlight them because like this is something that I see inside of them. And so it's like, hey, you like to just support people, so let me put you in a position where you're able to support people. And you like to like say the direction, so let me put you in a position so they feel like they own it in some kind of way.
Absolutely.
What who is that person for you in your life? Like, imagine you have maybe multiple people, I don't know, but what person, if that person was not in like the story, the grand narrative, the dance journey of Joy Clayton, would your dance journey have taken like a totally different direction, or maybe not have existed at all? Like, if you were to eliminate that person, like, this person made me go in this direction because they poured something into me, they spoke something over me. Like, who is that person for your life?
That's so interesting. It's so interesting because I never went into dance like this is where I'm going, and I have this dance teacher. I actually didn't take a formal dance course until, or like class, I'll say, until college. I just didn't. I was always the choreographer, right? So I never took class. It was just something that started coming to me, right? And I would just move and I would just do the things. So in the space, I would say my mom, because she was the person that was like, okay, well, if you want to do this thing, she was always there to say, if you want to do this thing, I'm here to support you to do this thing, right? Whatever that was. Specifically as it related to dance, one of the most pivotal points in creating the choreographer, creative director version of me was when we were doing praise dance at church. I went to a really big multicultural church. Shout out the Victory Christian Fellowship. A really big church in Delaware. And we had praise dancers, right, that were more ballet classically trained. And the leader of that, Miss Kim, I'll never forget her because she was a part of the Chicago Ballet at one point and was also a scientist, right? So it's like that's why she was in Delaware. She was a scientist. So, I didn't see that dichotomy with her, which is a whole other thing, right? So, but my body didn't move the ways hers moved. Like it just didn't. And I wasn't built the way she was built. I mean, she was classic ballerina, like brown but ballerina, right? It was just very different. And the way she wanted us to move, I was like, this is not it for me. Love what you're doing. I appreciate it with all my heart. Has no beat, I can't get with this. I love hip hop, like I just did. And so she gave me some good training as it pertains to dance. It was my first introduction to anything formal, but we were in a church setting. And then when I said, okay, I love this for everyone, but I'm also a teenager and I can't, and all my friends want to dance, I went to my youth pastor, so he would be number 2, and I went to Pastor Gift Wilson and I said, can we start a dance group? Because here I am being the leader. Can we start a dance group? Because I love what we're doing here, but we need a hip hop dance group. And we need something that the teens can do. We need something that we can get with. And thus Praise Force was born. So Praise Force was the name of the group. And that's what we're doing. And we did TV shows. We got booked for churches. I mean, it was basically my high school career. Like it was pretty much everything. So he was like, you just need one person. You need an adult that's going to be in the church with you guys. We're okay with you doing it. And my mom was the adult that stepped up and said that she would do it. So between those 3 people, I think that's really how it kind of all converged together. Was if I didn't have my mom to even say, yes, I'll be here to support you through this thing that you want to do. And our pastors saying, of course, let the kids do what they want to do. And then Miss Kim being like, not offended, right? That we didn't want to do ballet, and also still being like the overseer, though. She's like, okay, it's still under dance ministry, but it's like this leg of dance ministry. And she empowered us. She challenged us. She checked our teenage attitudes. Like, she's like, you can't talk to people that way when you're choreographing, just so you know. Right. Like, but I mean, and those are the growing pains of being a leader and a teacher and a creative, right? You have to learn those things. You have to have people that pull you aside and say, it doesn't work that way. And empower you to say, yes, you should do the things, all the things you want to do. So I would say that was a big pivotal moment. And then, after that, I would say every dance school owner that I work for.
Yeah. So now you're in that position, essentially. So
Yeah.
what are you, instead of being told like, hey, yo, you can't talk to people like that just because you're the choreographer, like, check yourself. Do you know what I'm saying? Which no one is told how to choreograph or teach, and that's not a rant I'm about to go on right now, because this is not
Right.
this is not about me. Anyways, but
Right. Well, we need to talk about that.
yeah, no, bro.
Yeah.
So now that you're in that position, you're now like telling other people like, hey, yo, check yourself, essentially. Like, maybe not in those words, but like, what is your heart for dancers to absorb? Like, if you were to like have the ear of all the people that you have ever taught or like will teach, and you're like, if you get nothing from me, X, and you know for a fact that they would listen. If you're put in that situation, you know for a fact that when you said this one thing, they would listen and they would run with that mug. Like, what is your heart saying for these people?
That is so full because I feel like I would have a mouthful, but
So
to just
let
boil
me
it.
say, yeah, it doesn't have to be one thing. It can be a very long
Yeah.
thing. Yeah. Okay. Let me use some breathing room.
So kind of what you were saying, I mean, like in the position I have now, so I am the creative arts director at Seapoint College, and it's a Bible college in Norfolk, Virginia. And what that looks like is we're a small Bible college, but we're building something meaningful, right? And so I know we'll talk a little bit about that later, but like the position that I have now is I feel more of a weight and a responsibility to lead people who came from spaces that I came from, in the sense that they've always had this dichotomy. They've always had this otherness, this other understanding that I can't really have it all. But I would just start with you can have it all. I would start there. And I know that sounds ambitious and it sounds like an overshoot. It sounds like shoot for the moon, but why not? Because so much of life has told dancers that they shouldn't. And we actually don't have time for that anymore, right? We don't have time for people to stop showing up as themselves. And just in life in general, we've seen the societal shift. I mean, TikTok dances are not viral for no reason. Like they're viral for a reason. People are watching for a reason because it's that innate thing in us that we must dance. We must move our body to the rhythm of the universe, of life. And so, you know, it could be anything else. It's like, oh yeah, we could be doing other things and that could be going viral. But specifically speaking, like every move of a generation, there's a dance that marks a generation. Every generation has dances that mark them. From the beginning of time, there are dances that mark every culture. Um, and so I would say that don't give it up at all. You can have it all. If you want to, you know, if you want to be Superman and you want to go ahead and Clark Kent it by day and dance by night, do that thing. And you want to flip it and say you want to, you know, do the other thing at night and dance by day, do it. Nothing's stopping us now. So I would say that now is that don't let people tell you what to do with dance. Just do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is something that just it. I didn't realize how much it messed me up. Like not in like a scarred kind of way, but it's like I had this, and I've told this multiple times. So I gotta like journal about it or something to get it out of my head. But it's
Right.
just no legit. But it's like this thing where when I grew up, I was like, you're either dancing or you're not dancing. You have to choose one. So like when I saw
That's right.
people like go from like dance to like musical theater, or like they're like, no, I want to do sports, or like, no, I want to do this other thing, or like I went into like people who would start making music, and I'm like, you're not a singer, you're not a songwriter, you were a dancer. Like, why'd you stop? And I was like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's this visceral reaction, and now like as I've gotten more healing, which from I don't even know what, like, it was this idea of like these labels I can now accept as like someone who makes music, someone who writes songs, someone who writes stories, like scriptwriter, actor, singer. And I'm like, when did this happen to me? Like, you know? And so
Yeah.
yeah, we really don't have time. It's
No,
like
like
because
there's
it's so
so
accessible.
much to tell,
It's so
right?
yeah.
It's back to that communication piece. There's so much to say. We have a lot to say. That's why flash mobs went over so well. There's a lot to say, right? And you can say it with rhythm and movement. And so, honestly, if you want to say anything, dance it out, right? You can say things better with art than you can with words. And we've known that. I think as a people, we know that. We know that art will speak louder than a person on a platform. And even oration is an art form. But we know that it translates and it actually kind of transcends. I wouldn't even say kind of, it does transcend verbal communication. Because if I don't speak your language, but I watch you dance, I heard everything you said. Right? So
Yeah.
I completely agree with you about that narrative in our head. And it doesn't, I think sometimes our frustration with people leaving the art form comes down to it may feel like they're yielding to the voice that says they can't. right? Or sometimes we get frustrated with our bodies not cooperating with us. So I can talk about that all day, but it's like, how are we caring for ourselves? It's just like sports, if you are doing this thing and you've put you're all into it, you stop this thing because it doesn't provide something for you anymore. It's not doing what it used to do, or your body just gave out on you in some kind of way. And then that in of itself is kind of a disappointment. So
Yeah.
it's interesting.
I told you at the beginning of this conversation that I'm in a different room. I'm gonna close this blind because it's
Close your blinds.
fine. But we're gonna talk about C Point in like 6 seconds. Okay, give me one.
Okay.
Second. We're back. Okay, so I was just like, I'm not used to that window being there. So, you mentioned that you were the creative director. You're the director of the creative arts department of C Point. Like, how did that happen? Like, what connections made? What divine appointments? What intersections were taken left and right to get you there? How did that
Oh
even?
my goodness. Let's talk about divine appointments. So there's so many, and I'm like, if you can start at one, how like in your life you can start at one divine appointment, but you really got to backtrack, and then when you keep backtracking, you realize that pretty much your whole entire life led you to this point. So it's kind of like that. Let me see. This is on here. I was like, is this correct? You can still see me, right? I don't know. But did like a thing.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, I would say that pretty much my whole life led me here. Just what we were saying about creative and leadership. And I actually didn't realize that the two could be combined. No one ever said, hey, why don't you become a creative arts director when you grow up? Right? That was never, whenever someone asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, I started with fashion designer. That was my second grade one. I was like, I'm going to be a fashion designer. I'm definitely doing that. And then the other thing was a lawyer. And then I saw a movie that made me realize that I didn't want to be a lawyer because I didn't want to defend criminals. And then I took a psychology class, right? But children, you don't know. It's like, you don't have to be that kind of lawyer, right? And then I wanted to be a psychologist because I took a psych class in 10th grade. And then I realized that that's why I liked people, right? I was like, oh, this explains my people version of me. And then I fell in love with psychology and was like, I'm going to be a child psychologist. I love people and families. So throughout that journey, I never said I wanted to be a dancer. I never was like, oh, I want to be a creative artist. I want to be a dancer. I never said that. I always wanted to focus on people and helping people. And so it's very interesting that I was like working in social service by day and I was dancing at night, right? I was doing that Clark Kent thing. I was doing that. And so all throughout my life, fast forward to circa 2020, I got a divorce in 2020. And right after my divorce, I was like, we know that it's COVID. We all had a lot of time on our hands. And I was like, God, like, what do you really want from me? Like, who am I in this space? And how do I navigate my life from here? And so I started asking God about calling pieces back to myself that maybe I lost along the way. And part of that was the creativity because I was not creating anything. I had taught, but life kept knocking me down to where I would be teaching. And even here in Hampton Roads, I was teaching, and then life would knock me down and I would have to move and I would have to do this and have to do that. And it was always taking dance away from me. And so I just was like, this is insanity, right? So I just wasn't creating at all. And so when I started asking God for those pieces of my soul back, he just started restoring to me that innate person that I am. He's like, you're creative. You've been called to create. You've been called to be an artist. And I started getting, all kinds of things, back to myself. And in that space, I also started, planning business. I was working, and working in the field that I wanted to work in, but even still, it was like, but how am I going to make these things work? I want to start a business. I want to do consulting. And so as I just started getting more and more kind of like downloads and writing down my vision about where I wanted my life to go, the past 5 years have just been a journey into me being who God has called me to be. And really everything in my life and every self-reflective question that I've asked myself and then acted on that answer that I received, from God about who I am has led me to this point. I left my job in 2023. I already knew that it was something I was going to do. I didn't know what I was going to do after that. And I was like, there's no way I'm supposed to be leaving my full-time job as a single mom. Uh, but I really do feel like this thing needs to happen. We didn't anticipate COVID, but I had already planned on leaving my job in 2022, not knowing COVID was coming, not knowing the divorce was coming. Like, I was already planning on making these particular moves toward what I felt was my purpose. And in 2023, I was just trying to make ends meet. There were all kinds of things I could tell you about that happened there, but lots of devastation and lots of bouncing from place to place. And then I'm sitting working on my business. And so I do consulting work for students who have developmental delays and some, I would say, I wouldn't say disability specifically, but anyone who thinks differently or learns differently would be considered a neurodiverse person. So I help families navigate through that, right? People with autism, young adults with autism, especially Gen Z. So I'm working on my business. The coffee shop manager asked me what I'm working on. We have a conversation. She connects me with a pastor. She goes, hey, you need to meet this pastor. I sit down, meet with this pastor. He says, hey, you need to meet Dr. Sarah Hummel. I start coming to their chapels. The chapels are Thursdays at 4. We still have chapel Thursday at 4. This is 2023. Like, I had just left my job. I thought I was going into another job, but that all fell through. So I'm like in the middle of just like, all right, well, we got to make this thing work. I'm building this thing, and one step leads me to the next step. I start coming to chapel all 2023. I realized that she teaches on leadership, and then we have a creative arts space here. And that's why people wanted to introduce me to her. And then I decided I wanted to sharpen my leadership skills, right? Like, that's what we're talking about. I know I'm a leader, but I know I want to go back to school at some point. I want to sharpen my leadership skills. She's teaching a class, and I'm like, I'm taking it with her. Like, I want to make sure I'm taking her class. January 2024, I take that class. Within the first 3 weeks of class, we begin to start sharing what we do and who we are and how we're kind of wired. And I'm like, I'm here for leadership, but I'm also a creative. And then after that, she's like, yeah, I think I need you to pray about this job that I have for you. August of 2024, I take a part-time job here as a creative arts director. So that is the touch point way in which I ended up as a creative arts director at Sea Point College, really being obedient. There really is no other way to slice it. I could say that I knew a person who knew a person. I did not know Dr. Sarah Hummel before I was introduced to her, through someone else who I didn't even know the people that I named along this story. Like, I did not even know these people, I know them all now, but I didn't know them. And now, went from part-time to full-time. And so God has just been gracious enough to me to answer me when, I wanted to pursue purpose, and always kind of been that self-starter. When I'm asking God to show me pieces of myself and show me where we're going next, he's like, yep, I got this thing set up for you, and this is where you're going next, which is why I didn't give you the thing you were asking for before. And I'm like, yeah, I kind of needed the money though. Like at that time, I'm like, hello.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I don't want you walking into this door, because it's not going to give you the freedom and the liberty to walk into the door that I actually have for you.
Yeah.
And so I'm really glad that I didn't take that job, or that job didn't take me, or so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And
that's
it's
how I got
amazing
here.
how many things lead up to other things, and it's like
Yeah.
positive and the negative all kind of melt together to get you in that one space. How exactly is Sea Point different? Like, you are, there's a creative arts directorship, I guess, that you are now in charge of, and
Oh, yum.
there's like dance degrees, there's music degrees, there's singing degrees, there's
Oh, yeah.
musical theater. Like, specifically for our conversation, like, how is getting like a minor or major in dance at Sea Point different from me going to another college and getting a degree in dance?
Yeah.
Like, what exactly, what is the DNA like?
I love this question too. I'm like, you have great questions, Joelle. The DNA of Sea Point College is that we are a local neighborhood school, right? We are a college that values 3 very specific things. We have a MAP model, M meaning mentorship. We really value mentorship and the one-on-one with students. We do internships. All students go through 8 internships while they're with us. We're all in person, so we rarely do virtual, but we're not a virtual-based school. We are all in person, so you have to come to campus to go to class. We also are anti-debt. That's very important. We're a nonprofit, but we don't take any financial aid. We don't take any, money from loans and things of that sort. We encourage students to pay for school, and we raise money for the students who are unable to, pay for certain things, pay for that tuition, right? So if they have a budget of whatever it is and they're paying that full amount, and then maybe they hit a pocket and they're like, oh, I can't pay this amount, they can apply for a scholarship and we can fundraise for that scholarship. So we don't believe that you should go into debt to get education. And then personalization, we make sure that it's for you. And so a lot of students we've noticed, just college in general. I mean, I went to college, so you just get through it, right? It's just about you getting through it. If you find a mentor, good luck. And the way you find a mentor is by partnering up. And I went to a secular private college, right? And I mean, good luck. Maybe your teacher favors you. Maybe the faculty member favors you, and you guys, get a drink at the school pub or something like that. And then that's how you get a mentor. But other than that, that's how college mentors work. It's all networking, right? Maybe a classmate's father or mother wants to take you under their wing, but in all actuality, only students who pursue those mentorships receive them from higher academia. And so that's for us. You're not going to just float through here. You're going to get that personalization. All of our students go through an individualized ministry plan. And so before you even start anything, we want to know, how has God wired you? Those things we talked about earlier. What is your personality, your temperament? We have systems in place for that. And we do have assessments that students take. It's actually all on one app. iDisciple is the app that we kind of use in it. It basically takes all of those things and puts it together, and we pair that up with your leadership style, what God has called you to, what are the things that you're passionate about in this world. And you sit with our IMP director, and she's able to walk you through those things. And then we really help place you where you should go with the right internship, with the right mentor. And a lot of times, what we're missing in life overall is discipleship. Discipling means just being a student of something. We're missing that. And a lot of young people are just missing the guidance. We sat with some students last night and asked, what do you think Gen Z needs? And one of the things that they brought up, one topic they brought up, was that the older generations are not patient enough to walk with them. That we haven't taken the time to sit, we gave up too quick. And when I tell you, it really hit me. Like, it's still, because it's like 24-hour stuff, but I mean, it really hit me, don't give up on us. One student said, don't give up on us. And I'm like, dag, that's crazy. Like, have we been giving up on younger people just because our attention span is not where it should be? So we're upset at younger people because their attention span is not what it used to be, but apparently ours isn't either, because we're not here ready to walk people through things. And so I just truly believe that that's what makes Sea Point College different. We are very innovative with the way that we teach our students. Everything is very hands-on. We want students to really know their material and be able to apply it in the community setting. And all of that, even though it may not seem like it's directly related to a creative, but if you have no mentorship in these spaces, that's how people move off to New York, move off to these other places. They go to these schools and then they have no one supporting them. They have no community. They have no discipleship. If you're a Christian, you're a disciple of Jesus Christ. Like, they don't find Christian community there. They find their morals and their standards being dragged under by other people's morals and standards. And they're not able to stand. And that's how we end up losing a lot of creatives, because they're also not being discipled. So again, it's a holistic approach. It's not just about being good at that thing that you're good at, right? Not just being a great lawyer or teacher, educator or nonprofit leader. You can't just be good at that one thing and not look at the holistic self. You still need to be mentored. You still need to be trained. And that's what we offer.
How do you feel like your dance journey up until this point, because it's still continuing, how do you feel like that has prepared you to do these things that you're talking about at Sea Point?
I had people mentoring me. And it seems like, in an odd way, it's twofold. I went to college because I like learning, right? I like learning and I wanted to go to college. I really wanted to. And so I always say, like, the what I paid for college, I didn't pay specifically for the degree. I paid for the experiences that I got through going. I paid for the friends, I paid for the experience of working on my own, time management, self leadership, self management. I paid for a lot of that, right? Like, I'm paying for this entire experience. And so I think it's an experience that needs to be had in young adulthood regardless. Um, so I would say that that's part of it. Um, but the dance experience through that, I chose to work for um, dance studio owners, or um, I wouldn't say dance ministry, but I would say studio owners, that even if they didn't have a studio, they had a dance company. And so through teaching kids, I always wanted to still teach kids, but the best way to do that was through art. And so through teaching, I watched a lot of the leaders that I was around. I watch them. And when you begin to do things like when you're showing up on time, when you're providing excellent art, when you're proving that you're a leader among other teachers, they begin to call on you for things. And so what I realized was, what was innate in me, they began to show me, yes, there are other ways to do this. And this is why I chose to open up a company or open up a studio, because I also work this way. So in my mind, I always have thought of opening up a dance studio. I mean, I still kind of think like that, like in the later future when I'm a lot older, right? Retired. I'm like, oh yeah, I would love to open up a dance school or something like that. But that's really who taught me. People who were entrepreneurial, in spirit, and wanted to create something for their community, because after school arts is everything. I mean, it's everything. Extracurricular activities for students. So they really kind of just trained me along the way. And I feel like that's the dance journey that prepared me for where I'm at now.
Man, thank you so much for everything you said. I'm probably gonna rewatch this conversation like 6 times just to write notes. Um, yeah, thank you for your time. I mean, everyone. The whole point of this, all these conversations that I'm having, is to show people the
Yeah.
the dance journey that they can have. That it's like everyone's is so different, and it's like the all like one piece could be missing from your story, and your whole story would have been different. So,
Mm-hmm.
where can people find you on the interwebs? Like, if you want to give the
Oh
information
yeah,
at any point or for your own personal stuff, you can do whatever.
absolutely. So just okay, so Joy Stays Free, and that's Joy Stays, Stays free, on all platforms. You can find me Joy R Clayton on everywhere, pretty much, LinkedIn, Facebook, but on everything that I have is Joy Stays Free. Uh, and of course, you can find me at Sea Point College. So you can find me at Chapel on Thursdays at 4, throughout the semester. Um, but I just also kind of I want to touch on one more thing, just about
Yeah.
creativity and like your dance journey. I think that dancers, I kind of want to go back to something I said earlier. Just dancers are so unique in the sense that, like, you have the mind body connection. Like, that's something that we have. And I think about what's next for dancers, right? It's never too late. And a lot of times we give up on different things. But this is like one of the greatest times to be alive, right? Where there's so many opportunities to pursue a dance journey and a dance career,
Mm.
and you can do it the way you're choosing to do it. And so I just feel like, with even with Sea Point College, we want dance for the community. We want musical theater for the community. We want to express the love of God through art and creativity. And so the skills to receive that, you may be able to receive it anywhere, but why not have people walk you through it and let there be like hand in hand education with it, right? And then you're prepared. So something you mentioned, that I didn't answer, was what makes it different, And I just feel like my dance journey overall, it was pretty unique, but overall it's creative leadership, and that just however you flesh that out. So if you're a creative leader and you feel called to leadership space and you feel called to creative space, even if it's not dance, find a creative leader to mentor you. And that's what we're doing at Sea Point College. I say this all the time. We're not training creatives to be creative. We got that down. We know how to create. We can do that all day. And we're basically just we're teaching the things that we struggle with the most, right? Finances, time management. We're building a course right now called the Creative Brain. How is your brain working when you are creating, and how do you keep your mental health together throughout all the things that specifically creatives are dealing with, right? So the Creative Brain, leadership in the arts, those are courses that you take as a creative arts major here. You're not specifically just taking the minor courses in musical theater or, music creation, things like that. You're taking courses that are going to help you be a leader in creative spaces, whether you're leading yourself or a team of people. And that's what we have.
No, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Never a dull conversation with Joy Clayton. Like she said, her Instagram is here. I think almost all her stuff you can find at Joy Stays Free. One thing I like to point out is that C Point is with an E. So C Point E college. And yeah, reach out to her. Really, really do that. Because again, like she said, the whole mentorship aspect is like, I have this journey that I'm very familiar with. Like, this is my dance journey. But if we don't have people around us, either community or peers or people who are mentors, we can kind of feel like we're the only one. And the case is, we are not the only one. Period. There are plenty of people who are diving deeper into dance, diving deeper into theater, diving deeper into psychology and all the different stuff that Joy's into. But even if you're outside of that, someone who has gone through all those different realms and might seem scatterbrained or whatever, it's not being scatterbrained. You can do it all. And this idea of how to do that comes with a trajectory that you need. I talked about trajectory in the process as a skill of growth Monday. You can check out that episode. But the idea is like a mentor will give you that trajectory. And Joy's dance journey, going inside of dance, going to psychology, going to all this different stuff that seems unrelated, her dance journey was there the whole time. She was growing in different ways. And so to do all those things together and have done those things together allows her to speak into your life or my life or someone else's life in a way that is from experience. So having that outside perspective is really, really, really helpful. In the same way, there are two things that we are learning when it comes to dance, right? So we are learning ourselves and our body and controlling our body and understanding how to move, how we can move, and getting proficient at controlling our body. But there is also the other half where we're learning the techniques and the skills and the choreography that are being taught in class. Okay, so you're doing really 2, if not 4, if not 6 things when it comes to taking a dance class, which is why I'm creating Hip Hop Musicality. Okay, the Hip Hop Musicality is going to be a live stream that any person of any age, no matter where you are in your dance journey, can join to sharpen their skill. Specifically, I'm going to tailor it to hip hop, but it's musicality, right? It's listening to the music and controlling your body so that you look like how the music sounds, right? Whether it's soft, whether it's stiff, whether it's ticking, all the different things that you can do in class, so that when you jump into a hip hop class, or you're just dancing for yourself, or you're performing, or whatever you want to do with hip hop, whatever your dance journey is tailoring it to, you are already in control of your body and you are aware of how to have musicality for hip hop, so you can apply the musicality to whatever it is that you're doing, right? Separating those two things are very important. So, if you like to have fun and you'd like to grow, and you'd like to grow in a way that's very specifically for you, I have an online class that I'm doing. It's going to be a live stream, so you can just jump on. The information I'm going to put up before I actually end the live stream. Monday, 7 p.m. And will always be Monday, 7 p.m. unless the world ends for the rest of time. Okay, so Hip Hop Musicality is starting February 2nd, which is in like a couple days, on Monday, 7 p.m. Okay. It's $20. It's $20. You can just join the class. It's a drop-in. I'm going to be continually going over certain skills and or applying those skills in different ways, right? So it's like, hey, here's a skill. Next week, let's apply the skill. New skill, yeah. And it's always going to be helping you control your body so that you can apply the hip hop musicality that you learn to whatever. Or what I prefer is blending what you already know with the new skill of hip hop, and then you're fully like embracing your personal style, because your personal style is like a melting pot of all the things that you have learned and experienced from. So, enough of the rant. Let's go. Live your life. Do all the things. Join Hip Hop Musicality. Here's the information right now.